So, good afternoon.
My name is Greg Salter. I'm currently Head of Risk at Nedbank Home Loans. Last year I was also the acting Head of Projects, Process and Systems, so I had overall accountability for the project team that delivered the Home Loan Digital project.
I've been asked by a colleague of mine to present some findings and some experiences and challenges that we faced when we rolled out an IT project in our organisation. So I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about a project and portfolio management tool that was basically implemented in our organisation, but our organisation consists of many countries within sub-Saharan Africa, but also the organisation that I work for looks after many countries across the globe. So this project was a project for project managers, and that was to manage their projects and portfolio of projects more efficiently and effectively as they do today. This project was initially thought about and wanted to be implemented by the guys in what we call the North American Canadian organization, and they actually prompted the head office in our organization, which is based in Sweden, to develop such a tool.
Okay, so just to explain what that project was all about, it was a project to enable our customers to apply for a home loan online and receive an answer promptly and directly at their homes, rather than, for example, going into a Nedbank branch or alternatively using a mortgage originator. So it was a project to provide a self-service option to our customers. In terms of what went well, it has exceeded our expectations in terms of how it has been received by our customers. We have been really delighted by some of the customer compliments that we have received. I've been in home loans for 7 to 8 years now, and I haven't seen customer compliments like we've got in the time since the project launched. Our volumes through the channel are ahead of expectation as well. And I think really there are a number of things that went well that has led to this outcome. So I think first of all, we focused strongly on having an outside-in design, and by that I mean not a design that worked for the bank, but a design that worked for our customers. So we invested heavily in understanding what did they want and how should we present a home loan application to them such that they would find it an easy experience, because a home loan is not a simple product, it's complicated, and we wanted to reduce that complexity and make the whole process a pleasant one. We worked hard on prototyping. This is something that I think we adopted a cutting-edge approach in the bank in terms of the level of prototyping that we did, and not just prototyping from a design or a systems point of view, but prototyping from a customer experience point of view. We literally built prototypes in Excel and in Java that we took out to Nedbank branches and had customers complete so that we could get a sense of how they were experiencing them. And we also had hundreds of bank staff review the prototypes that we had built for their input. So really the prototypes enabled the design to be effectively a joint design, incorporating the insight and wisdom of many of Nedbank staff. I think what we also sought to do successfully was to ensure that we could build a great customer experience so that customers would be willing to invest in the self-service option, because if you go self-service, you're asking your customer to do some of the work, and in return for that you need to give them some things that potentially they don't experience in other places. I would also say that we built for the rule rather than the exception. I think too often in digitization projects, the exception becomes the rule, and you end up with a solution that takes the majority of your customers through unnecessary steps. And I think finally, and a little less visibly, we also invested heavily in our operations processes behind the system, such that we could support the system with great experience and service. For example, our operations staff generally deal with intermediaries currently. Through this channel they have to deal with customers directly, and we had to train and equip them to prepare them for that.
The major challenge was the change management aspect, the changing of people's ways of working, the changing of people's mentalities. And we felt that whilst we are still in the process of hand-holding a lot of these project managers and a lot of these sponsors who are using the tool, and a lot of the line managers that are using the tool, in how to use the tool, the benefits of the tools, we are slowly seeing a nice improvement of the adoption of this tool. Partly it's a little bit of the team that is sitting locally driving this team, so it's very, very important you have a team of change agents to drive such a program, but it's also important that the end users see the benefit of such a tool and they adopt it and become sort of very knowledgeable and almost empowered of using this tool themselves. So it's less reliant on ourselves as the team members driving it and more independent and proactive of the project managers driving it. Great, so I think the critical success factors that we needed top senior leadership involvement, right from the Sweden head office organization, that is where it's been rolled out, right through to our organization with Sub-Saharan Africa, and of course globally. So we had the head of our region involved, but predominantly the head of our operations organization involved, and then we had the head of the project organization and myself as the regional lead. So we had multiple people and multiple dedicated resources to work on this project and roll it out. So I would say that was probably the most critical success factor, is the engagement and the involvement from senior management, and then of course the change management aspects and the ways of working to change the people's concepts and ideas of how we should improve our project management.
So I think I can point to two things. So I think the first is the architectural or the systems choice that we made. I think the project took the best part of 18 to 24 months, and by the time we got to the end of it, there was some doubt as to the system's choice and whether it's the correct one over the long run. And I think we could have done more at the beginning to make sure that the systems choice we made was going to be the long run enduring solution. So I think anything that's foundational and anything that's important for the long run success, it's really important to invest in getting that stuff right. Sometimes the temptation is to get into the exciting things, like building your solution, but you have to get your foundations very solid. And then secondly, I would point to stakeholders. So one of the surprises that we had was because we built a solution that has been well used and well received, one of the things that some of our stakeholders said to us is, why didn't you also change the customer's experience in the Nedbank branch network? And effectively we hadn't considered that. It hasn't been difficult for us to now subsequently go and rectify that, but I think that we could have paid more attention to that element earlier on and understood the wider ramifications of what we were doing earlier on.
The challenges we had is that we have a very global organization with global IT tools, and they were quite resistant at the time to consider this request from a different organization other than the head office. Over a period of many months, probably as much as 12 months, the IT organization within our head office in Sweden did a due diligence on the challenges and also the pros and cons of multiple different tools out in the organization, out in the globe, to see if what they were being asked to implement from the North America, Canadian region would be sufficient to actually implement worldwide. It came up that the tool actually was the best preferred tool, but there were very, very many challenges in this decision-making process. And partly the reason is because IT had a vision to go with the SAP tool and to implement our SAP ways of workings. But this tool that was being recommended by the North American and regional Canadian organization was not SAP, basically part of the SAP suite of products. So there was a lot of politics, there was a lot of backwards and throwing of different discussions, different decisions, different people's ideas of what they should have. But in the end, through a very formal change management process, very formal due diligence process, this tool was chosen. It was then developed over a period of about 4 to 6 months with the North American and Canadian region, and then finally it was made available to the rest of the organization.
So we've definitely seen a positive customer impact from the compliments that we have received and the feedback we've received and the take-up that we are experiencing. But I think we've also seen some other benefits which we weren't expecting quite as much. One has been the kind of the feeling and the kind of morale within our division, having now put in place an innovative solution for our customers. I think it's really stirred people up and shown us what we can do, and motivated us to continue to excel in this respect and to continue to drive to provide new solutions for our customers. I think also what we've done is just a beginning. It's in some respects is foundational from a self-service point of view. We've provided the basics, but there's a whole lot of exciting things we can add on top of that, and that's what we intend to do next. I think the other thing is we've been able to deploy our solution in places we didn't expect. I mentioned the Nedbank branch network where a variant of the system is being deployed, but there are other places as well where we've actually been able to use our solution that we didn't anticipate at the beginning. And the other thing is that it's opened some doors for alliances and some partnerships and some business opportunities that were previously closed to us. So all in all, I think it's been a great solution for the business.
So one of the challenges was to see whether this tool was actually and could be actually developed and aligned to the way our processes worked, or whether our process had to be changed to adapt to the way the tool works. And I'd probably like to say it was a little bit of a combination of both. Whilst we had some very strong processes that we wanted to follow, and we wanted to implement our project management processes within the tool and use a term that we call workflow, to workflow the process through this tool, we also have to change some of our ways of workings and how we set up some of our projects in our project management financial systems, which is still the SAP system. So there was definitely a little bit of both. The benefits is that now we have a tool that has been implemented in an organization that workflows the project manager through every stage of the project management process, and that is where it was adapted to be a part of the ways of working within our organization.
Environment by including these people in the design and testing.
So if you can summarize from that experience, I guess, what are the key factors that we need to consider when we're implementing a solution?
Okay. Big designs like big group-wide projects need to find a way to actually involve business unit operational users in the design and the testing of something. They should really guard against doing what I call lab implementation, which is big concept with external experts with best practice, but not benchmarked against proper operational.
Okay, yeah.
Because it can be phenomenal on paper, but when it hits the ground, the change management is downright impossible because the gap between the two is too wide. So you tend to, in these big projects, find that the change management becomes just too seasonal. Don't leave it to communication briefs and PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah.
Work side by side, co-create side by side. That will give quicker absorption and adoption of what you're trying to build. The tendency there was to we build and we come and sell it to you once it's done. You know, so that as a change management mechanism lacks time for people to absorb, digest, give feedback. So then you've got this very peculiar risk which is sitting between, you've told me now for the first time and I've got to use it, and now I can't use it, and now the whole thing destabilizes. That becomes a huge risk because you could have taken it, mitigated that rather by taking them into and working with them in the design and get the practical stuff, and they would have learned and understood what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Now you tell them for the first time, you give them training, and you walk away.
No, yeah, it's good. Okay, now thinking about it, Sasol is quite a big company. Why do you think this mistake was made? It seems like quite a massive, big mistake.
You see that the difficulty with it lies within in the way you frame the question is the word big. You're a big organization. It's really easy in big organizations to lose track of stakeholders and who's stakeholders and who's not. So typically, because the organization culture is one of wanting to include, they find themselves at this difficulty where they start off a project and they involve all the business units in the steer code and creates the bugger up, which is, and now you can't take it to proper implementation because there's not enough operational understanding of how this thing, which is a new way of work, is actually having to be handled when it hits it.
Just another question. I'm just going to refer to some of the interviews that I did with Willie and Anton. Okay, Willie mentioned, well, one of the projects that he felt didn't work well was the ITM system.
Yeah.
He mentioned, well, from the conclusions I got was it was designed for HR, not for the customer. So HR, it was designed such that HR can collect as much data as possible and be able to report it. But by doing that, they made a system that was not robust or actually added work to the customer. So do you find, it seems like a similar,
It's exactly the same thing. So
you're designing the system for IM or the IT purposes rather than the...
So you design best in class for the function. So whether it's IT or HR, but you don't design it for the end user that's going to use this. And in his world of work, how's it going to fit in? So whether that be, you can see that as the customer then of the system. I use the word terminology, end user, so see that as, translation, same thing. And often, why does it happen?